city, that he cannot take our campus, and that he cannot take away our right to free speech. So here at Georgetown, I know that we love to analyze our issues. We love to talk about what we would do if we were in power, but we don't necessarily love to take risks. We don't like to put our names on the line, our careers, or our futures on the line. So thank you all for taking a risk with me by being here today. Because I know that you know as much as I do that it's not our choice anymore whether or not we put our futures on the line. Our futures are already on the line. My main issue, the reason why I got involved in organizing, is climate. And our future's on the line because of climate change, climate disasters, but also because of so many other things. I'm here today speaking because I can't organize for a livable future if we no longer have the right to protest on campus, if we're living through democratic backsliding, if we're living through a time in which Trump can deploy federal officers to our city and our school doesn't guarantee us the right to continue to have free speech. So we're here to ask Georgetown to guarantee that they will protect us when we protest on this campus, when we raise our voices. They say they're proud of us for advocating for what's right. So I'm here asking, prove it. Guarantee that we'll continue to be out here. We'll continue to be able to protect each other, to keep us safe, and to fight for all of our causes. Thank you so much.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what community looks like!
This is what community looks like!
Show me what community looks like!
This is what community looks like!
Our next speaker today is Washington's 7th District Representative Camilla Jayapal. Representative Jayapal is the first South Asian American woman elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and is the chair of the Integrated Task Force for the Congressional Caucus, and is a vice chair of the Congressional LGBT Equality Caucus and is co-chair of the Transgender Equality Task Force. She also serves as a ranking member of the Subcommittee on Immigration Affairs, Security, and Border.
Hey everybody, thank you so much to Sunrise and to Free DC and to all of you for being here. I am an organizer first and foremost. I just happen to be doing it in Congress now after 20 years outside, and I'm a Hoya. Georgetown right here in Copley, and I used to look out at the square and be a part of the protest here, and it makes me so happy to see you all here because the previous speaker is absolutely right. This is an unprecedented moment in our country where we have an authoritarian leader who is deploying federal troops to Washington, D.C., to cities across the country, militarizing our streets, kidnapping people on the streets, immigrants, people who look Latino and speak Spanish are now being given free rein to be kidnapped from Home Depot corners across the country. Yay! And the only bulwark that we have is the people. And so what you are doing here today is so important because at the end of the day, the checks and balances that were supposed to be built into our Constitution so that we could protect our constitutional rights are not working right now. Because when you have a majority party in Congress who refuses to actually hold a president, an authoritarian president, accountable, when you have a Supreme Court that is stacked with corrupt justices who take luxury RVs and trips from donors who come before the Supreme Court, then literally the only check and balance is you. So yes, you are taking a risk today by being here, by walking out with students across DC to say we are going to protect our rights. And what an incredible show of power, people's power it has been this last weekend to see thousands of people on the streets of DC, to see people fighting back against the narrative that we are powerless. single event, every single walkout, every single protest, every single act of non-cooperation is part of what it takes to build the people's movement. And you are here today because you believe in a different future than what we have right now. You believe in a future where billionaires don't control the wealth of our planet. You believe in a future where we have a planet to pass on to our people. You believe in a future where working people can earn a decent wage and send their kids to colleges like the one that you're going to today. You believe in a future where there is genuine equality and justice for everyone, no matter what race you are, no matter what gender you identify with, no matter who you are or where you live. That is the country that we are fighting for today, and I am so proud that you are here doing it with us. Thank you all so much. Check out my Resistance Lab. It's resistancelab.us. 2-hour virtual training on the most effective tactics to increase the ability to take risks. Because that is what it takes. In countries around the world, it only happens if you overthrow authoritarian leaders when the people fight back and when the people really put themselves on the line. So check it out. We are so happy to be here. Thank you, Sunrise. Thank you, Free DC, for the amazing work that you are doing. And thank you all for walking out and for showing that the people's power will always win. So say it with me, Free DC!
Free DC!
Free DC!
Free DC!
The students united
Will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated.
Thank you all so much, and keep at it. We need you.
Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit? Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit? Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit?
Up next is Massachusetts Senator Markey. He is on the Committee on Health, Education, Labor and Pensions, and Environment and Public Works. Markey is a pioneer for climate justice and clean energy in the Senate and was the Senate author of the Green New Deal and has been a champion of progressive causes supporting gun control, single-payer health care, and affordable housing.
Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out here. So, D.C. is under assault. When the Capitol was under assault on January 6th, Trump refused to send in troops to protect against this attempt for the usurpation of democracy, of the election of the President of the United States. He allowed for that assault to take place on the Capitol with no troops being sent in. But now, here in D.C., the President is attempting to create an impression that the crime rate is going up rather than down, that there is, in fact, a crisis here in the District of Columbia. And what he is doing is attempting, not just here in D.C., but in Chicago, in L.A., in Boston, is to try to characterize communities that are majority minority, that are majority black and brown, as being unsafe to live. And it's not a coincidence that he's picking all of these cities that are black and brown majority. It is to scare America. You cannot make America great again by making America hate again. That is what Trump is seeking to do. And what we have to do is to make sure that we stand up to him. And these governors who are sending their National Guard troops here to D.C. at a cost of $1 million a day, they should be protecting Medicaid and SNAP and educational opportunities for young people back in their own home states, rather than participating in this charade that Donald Trump is creating here in the District of Columbia. This is not about policing. This is about political theater, because Trump's political rating is going down because he knows that he is vulnerable. And he's just going back to his old standard play, which is racism, which is trying to play to the worst fears that he can instill in people across our country. That is what is at stake right now. And so we have to stand up. 250 years ago, the American Revolution began in Lexington and Concord. They stood up against King George, those Minutemen and women. They were knocked down, but they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And the abolitionist movement, we know that Georgetown is still reckoning with its own history with slavery. Those abolitionists, they were knocked down, they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, they won. The suffragette movement, they were knocked down, they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, they won. The same-sex marriage movement, they were knocked down, but they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., they were knocked down, but they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And that's where we are today. It's led by the young leaders in our nation, standing up and fighting. And yes, people are being knocked down, but they are not knocked out. They're going to get up, they're going to fight, and we're going to win. We're going to beat them. We do not need a king in our country. We do not need a dictator. That is what this is all about. Thank you, Georgetown, for standing and fighting. We will win. And so thank you. We must free D.C. Free D.C. Free D.C. Free D.C. Free D.C. And free our country of the dictatorship of Donald Trump. Thank you all so much.
Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Thank you, Senator Markey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey. So I'm Carly. I'm a junior at Georgetown State. And so up next we have a song to share with you. It's a bit of history. Enslaved people passed on songs to worship and teach. And then these songs became part of the anti-slavery movement and abolitionism. Music sustained them. Music sustained protests through the Revolutionary War when colonists used songs to criticize the tyrannical actions of the British. Music was a critical part of the women's suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, the anti-apartheid movement, labor movement, continued by labor choruses around the country, the LGBTQ rights movement, continued by LGBTQ choruses around the country, and anti-war movements. And so today, in our fight against authoritarianism, we bring you a song.
Make this possible for his MAGA-based feel as though he is fulfilling his promise to them. But you cannot make America great again by making That's what's going on. That's what Trump is trying to perpetrate. And these young people today are standing up and saying, no, they will not accept that as a part of the culture of our country. Well, we just have to continue to stand up and to fight and to put the pressure on the Republicans in the House and Senate, because what's happening here is wrong, and to the extent to which Republican governors are supporting and becoming a part of this entire crisis, that we make sure that they understand as well that they are going to put their own seats in jeopardy. I apologize, Steve. I got to run. Okay. Republicans are standing in lockstep with Donald Trump. That's the problem. They do whatever he wants, and even if they disagree with him, they sit in silence. And that's why people at the grassroots, students, activists have to stand up, raise their voices, and let them know that there's going to be a huge political price that they will have to pay. Sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. How you doing? You're good. Okay, yeah. Yeah, hi.
Just want to get your thoughts on, it's been a
Yeah, it is. Well, in the same way that on campuses there was an uprising for the same-sex marriage movement, for the civil rights movement, against the war in Vietnam, young people today are rising up against the dictatorial impulses of Donald Trump in sending in National Guard troops to occupy cities across our country that are majority minority cities. And so that's what this is all about. It's recognizing the fundamentally racist attitude that Donald Trump is bringing to his policing, in quotes, of our nation's cities. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Should be the one that's scared.
Democracy we all deserve. Hayden is also the Free DC student organizer.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe!
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe!
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe!
Good morning. Today, students across DC college campuses are walking out to make 3 demands. And I want you to remember these demands because when you go back to your friends and family, when you see them, when you speak with them, they should know why you walked out here on Red Square today. We should be able to clearly answer what our movement stands for, what Free DC as a campaign stands for. And first, to Georgetown administrators, we demand you do not comply with the Trump regime's attacks on our campuses. We demand you not comply with the Trump regime's attacks on marginalized communities, on critical program funding. You are not Columbia University. You are in the District of Columbia. So stand up for your students. Do not cooperate with ICE's illegal attacks on our campuses and our communities. So Georgetown, we demand non-cooperation. What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
To Mayor Bowser. To Mayor Bowser, 1 week ago, you signed an executive order extending Trump's military occupation of D.C. until December. You have collaborated and you are complicit with Trump's terrorizing of black, brown, marginalized, immigrant, and low-income communities in D.C. Recall her. So, to Mayor Bowser, we demand you cease your collaboration with the Trump administration and his military occupation of D.C. We demand non-cooperation. What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
What do we demand?
Non-cooperation!
Third, we make this demand of Congress. We demand tomorrow you vote to end D.C.'s military occupation. We demand you vote on H.R. 51 to make D.C. a state. We demand that you defend home rule. What do we demand? That you defend home rule. What do we demand? That you defend home rule. You know, one of the things that we've learned as college students is that we exist in the context of so many student movements, from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee to students in Bolivia, in Chile, in Serbia, who have risen up against autocrats, against despots and dictators, and demanded more just and inclusive democracy. demanded democracy that's determined by dignity and diversity, not despotism and despair. And that's what we're here to demand today. That democracy, that dignity can extend to DC, can extend to our college campuses. That we as students can have autonomy in our district and in the decision making of our education. And so, when you all go back to your families today, to your friends, when you tell them why you walked out, I want you to remember that today we are here to demand non-cooperation. Because when the textbooks of tomorrow look back on the institutions and their actions today, we need them to remember what light they'll cast them in. And so, even if those institutions fail us, we can always turn and trust each other and feel comforted in the knowledge that who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure being out here.
When our rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When our rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When workers are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When workers are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back. From DC to Palestine. DC to Palestine. Occupation is a crime.
Occupation is a crime.
DC to Palestine.
From DC to
Palestine. Occupation is a crime. Occupation is a crime. Georgetown, Georgetown, we know you. Georgetown, Georgetown, we know you. You endanger workers too. You endanger workers too. Georgetown, Georgetown, we know you. Georgetown, Georgetown, we know you. You endanger workers too. You endanger workers too. Thank you, everyone. I'm here today on behalf of the Georgetown Coalition for Workers' Rights, a student organization committed to ending the exploitation of labor at Georgetown and beyond. It is a privilege to be speaking before a group of people who recognize that Donald Trump's occupation of D.C. is a flailing attempt of a dying empire to intensify the surveillance of its people, to criminalize state-induced poverty, and to castrate the power of the working class. Many are calling this an unprecedented descent into fascism, although it is a new escalation, colonized and oppressed people of the world, from the American internal colony to the global south, could tell us that what we are seeing is not the exception, but the rule of American imperialism. I want to focus instead on a phenomenon that the Martinique poet and politician Aimé Césaire named in 1950 as the imperial boomerang. In his revolutionary essay, Discourse on Colonialism, Césaire writes the following words: "And then, one fine day, the bourgeoisie is awakened by a terrific boomerang effect. The Gestapos are busy, the prisons fill up, the torturers standing around the racks invent, refine, discuss. People are surprised, they become indignant. They say, how strange, but never mind, it's Nazism, it will pass. And they wait, and they hope, and they hide the truth from themselves, that it is barbarism, the supreme barbarism, the crowning barbarism that sums up all the daily barbarisms, that it is Nazism, yes, but that before they were its victims, they were its accomplices, that they tolerated that Nazism before it was inflicted on them, that they absolved it, shut their eyes to it, legitimized it, because until then, it had been applied only to non-European peoples. We stand in D.C., in the capital of what our government declares to be the most free, the most moral, the most democratic nation in the world, yet we lack political representation, and public spaces have become playgrounds for the ROTC, which was right over there. Shame. And our people are being terrorized and brutalized by almost 30 different police agencies that govern D.C. in what can only be described as barbarism. However, shame, as Césaire writes, before
liberation is meaningless without the liberation of the Palestinian people. As always, God must be our compass, and a world in which armed military troops stalk the streets is a mere fraction of what Palestinians living under Israeli occupation experience every minute of every hour. If we organize for freedom in D.C., we must understand that the federal occupation of D.C. is our being awakened by the terrific boomerang effect that Césaire first mentioned, which can be traced to the American-funded genocide in Gaza, to the first Nakba in 1948, and to the Balfour Declaration made by the British government in 1917. We understand the federal takeover as a part of a larger systemic flaw, one bigger than any single politician. While much of the conversation around the federal occupation of D.C. has centered on restoring the power of the local government, the administration of our Mayor Muriel Bowser laid the groundwork for the Trump administration. Last year, Democrats in City Hall passed the D.C. Secure Omnibus Crime Bill, which used the exact same justification of law and order to legalize our constant video surveillance under the pretense of eliminating crime. The local government, far before the federal occupation, expanded pretrial detention and cleared homeless encampments using inhumane measures. We cannot solely call for an end to federal occupation, but also for the end of the careers of politicians like Bowser, who profess to share priorities with the Trump administration and who have sold their souls and their civic obligation to their community for profit. If we refuse to accept the federal takeover of our streets, then we must also recognize that the liberal status quo in our city started the work of targeting black and brown communities that Trump is now finishing. ICE rides alongside our local police, leading to a tenfold increase in the typical number of ICE arrests in the first 2 weeks of the federal occupation. The immigrants who are the moral and economic backbone of this city are the very first targets of militarization and surveillance. Just last Thursday, we saw at a Hyundai plant in Georgia that immigrant labor is precisely what the federal officers are after. As ICE agents brutalized 475 people working in a plant outside of Savannah, the majority of which were Korean immigrants, it is deliberate and barbaric war against the working people of this country. I wish to end this speech by speaking about the place where we currently stand at Georgetown University. Interim President Robert Groves proudly proclaims that the university would do the work of fascism for the federal government by enforcing mask bans on campus after a protest last spring where GUPD dragged students out of Healy Hall for protesting the university's complicity in genocide. Not only does the mask ban endanger student protesters, infringe on personal liberties, and expose immunocompromised community members, but it is a distraction from the fact that our administration allowed federal agents to enter private university property and has refused to declare a sanctuary campus or protect its immigrant workers on temporary protective status. Georgetown is a corporation investing millions in genocide while exploiting its predominantly black and Latino labor force. While Georgetown likes to pretend that the repression stems only from the Trump administration's crackdown on immigrant populations, we know that this university has been infringing on the rights of its workers for decades. Nowhere is that reputation that has more to do with morality, civic-mindedness. You're going to do this to us. You think you should still deserve to be called a civic-minded university that has Jesuit tradition? No. What happened to cura personalis? Where is that now? Georgetown has lost the right to be called a Jesuit institution, just as the United States has lost the right to be called a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. As we fight for freedom, we must fight for freedom for the workers at Georgetown and all over the world, because it is the endless pursuit of profit over people that necessitated this rally today. In light of all of this, we have three concrete demands if we wish to create a world, a city, and a university free from the barbarism that Césaire described. We demand that Georgetown University declares a sanctuary campus and prohibits ICE and all other federal agents from entering any of its buildings.
Ideological and cultural ties to Zionism on our campus, and to see a fully liberated Palestine from the river to the sea within our lifetime. We are gathered here today to protest the occupation of D.C. and the repressive tactics of the Trump administration. But we must also be cognizant of the fact that this occupation is merely a symptom of a greater disease. That disease is the U.S. imperial project. Yay! To protect ourselves and our community members, we need to understand this bigger picture. Under the guise of lowering crime, Donald Trump has ordered this federal occupation of D.C. to target Black and brown community members